Scott Fisher and Northside will open up the season this Friday night when they head to Pulaski County. I asked Coach Fisher talk about the 2026 version of the Northside Vikings and what people can expect.
Coach, if I said, what does this year's version of the Vikings look like so far, what do you think the team's identity is?
Right now we're pretty well disciplined. Young guys got a lot of experience last year, so we're ahead of where we're at in the past. Happy about that. So identity-wise, I think that I would say we're under good leadership and well disciplined at this point.
When you don't have the record from one year that you wanted, and then you come into another year, but you bring everybody back, how is that a pro or is that a con?
I think it can kind of go both ways, honestly. You always think that, when we start off, everybody's 0-0, right? And as the season progresses, a lot of things come into play for wins and losses. Bad calls, from the staff would help. You got injuries. So, it's hard to say. Most of the time, we're pretty decent on predicting where we're going to be at. And I think right now we are in pretty good shape.
How do you keep it a pro and block out any con that would come along?
That's a great question. Every day we talk about trying to get better every day. Hopefully the kids buy into that and they trust what you're talking about and they actually physically see what you're talking about. Whether it's limiting, full contact practice stuff, whether it's limiting conditioning or increasing those items, you got to show them and they got to believe what you're trying to get done.
But I've got to believe that nothing shows better than the scoreboard on a Friday night when you have more points than another team. For those things to happen, what does Northside need to do to have more points than the other team week in and week out?
We got to stay healthy. We don't have a whole lot of depth this year. We have, good players at each position, I feel like. We just don't have the multiple players at certain positions. And that's going to be a concern for us in every game we play. We got to limit our turnovers, of course, and we have to have good field position to start with.
Not to be that guy who is in the rocking chair on his porch saying, get off my lawn, but it seems like a lot of people don't have the depth that they used to have. Can that play to your advantage?
And for us, we play so many young guys. I think that it would, but most teams now are going to be faced with the same issue. Kids are just not playing anymore.
Right.
So, you got to train the young guys to be ready to go on Friday night as quick as you could possibly can.
If things are going well for Northside, who are some of those guys that are going to make things go well for Northside, in your opinion?
Well, everything starts with a quarterback, Casey Hall. He's a senior. He returns this year. He might be one of the best athletes, in the school, of course. He's a basketball track guy, too. So, as Casey goes, we will follow. And we're going to split the carries in the backfield. King Daniels is a junior this year. He's our downhill kind of bruiser back. And then Darion King is he's our running back, our slot. He might be the overall best athlete on the football field for us on Friday nights. And then, right now we're having a little trouble filling the center spot. We do have a true freshman, Malik Hash. He'll play both ways on the offensive defensive front. And then the defense will be anchored by the inside linebacker, which is Tice Roberts. And he was a two-way starter last year as a freshman.
A true or false comment. Scott Fisher is tougher on quarterbacks than maybe other people.
Probably false. No, probably false. Probably harder on the O-line guys than anybody else. But, playing the quarterback position, you got to have the mentality to play it and be able to block things out. So, sometimes, yelling and screaming at a quarterback doesn't do anything good but hurt his confidence. So probably false.
I like to say that quarterbacks almost need to have that baseball closer mentality, because if you throw a pick, you got to go play another play. It's not like you're going to get pulled for, 5 or 6 minutes. How important is it that one bad play doesn't, roll into two and you have that kind of mindset of, all right, forget it, done with?
Yeah, I think it's mental toughness. I think that's where it, starts in the family, in my opinion, how they're groomed and grown up, in their individual families. If they've been codded for a long period of time, they have a little bit of trouble getting over those mistakes. Fortunately enough for us, Casey and his family do a really good job with that. And I think, once a mistake happens, he tries to move on pretty quickly.
I'm going to guess that you're probably an old school guy.
I 100% am.
How in today's age do you need to adjust yourself to become a coach that, old school may not work as much as it did when you played? How do you have to adjust to make it work nowadays?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard. Kids are different, parents are different, family composition makeup is completely different. Speaking just for our community and our school, it's completely different. From when I attended high school and came back to start my coaching career, and even 5 years ago, it's different now. Our student body makeup is completely different, and it's very difficult to relate to some of the issues that our players and student athletes have at our school. And the biggest thing that I had to learn early in my career was the empathy for other people and reach out and help people when they needed it.
What is this team good at that maybe people wouldn't catch from the naked eye or quote unquote out of towners? What is this team good at that most people wouldn't know?
They're really good at having a good time and learning at the same time. And what I mean by that is they don't get too caught up in when we make a mistake, they don't dwell on it too much. And I think that's a credit to our staff and to our players that played a lot as young guys and now they're older. So, if you didn't attend all of our games or most of our games when they were younger, you would see they panicked a whole lot, and now they're a lot more calmer now.
I'm gonna guess you're probably in your early 50s.
I will take that as a compliment. 57.
Okay, we'll say early 50s. I like that.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
what do you think of probably is the average age of your staff? And I'm getting to a point here, I promise.
Yeah, so our average age is, I'm going to say, probably in the upper 40s. I've got I think Jeff is 72. And then Coach Rob, I guess I'd be next at 57. Coach Rob's 55. Sean's 51. And then we've got a couple young guys below that.
Does that help though that you guys can, I don't want to say act like kids, but let the kids be kids? Granted, we're old school. I get that. But if we want these kids to have a good time, kind of forget that mistake pretty quick, we got to let them be kids. Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate. Yeah.
And does that help by, even though you're in your early 50s, you can act like that guy that's in his mid 20s? Does you get where I'm going?
No, I understand exactly where you're going. Yeah, I talk to my wife about that on a regular basis. I enjoy being around the kids. It makes me feel a lot younger than I am. I still participate with them, whether it's in a 7-on-7 or, the other day I was pushing a sled with the offensive lineman guys. So I didn't push it that far, but, I did push it.
I got to imagine your 40 time is not what it used to be. No offense.
Not even close. Not
Okay.
even close. Yeah.
Final thing about this year's football team. How important is it to focus on game one, not game four? And when game two rolls around, how important is it to focus on game two, not game seven?
Yeah, we talked about that. Coach Brown was pretty cool. He had a saying, it said, win the day. And, we try to kind of follow that. It is important. Once you get out of the scrimmage season here in the next couple of weeks and you head into week one, then you actually have a common interest and a common goal and a common opponent, that you can work towards. And, as soon as that Friday night's over and we wake up Saturday morning and have our lift, it's on to the next team. So it is good to have a focal point, at least, to focus on and game prep.
Coach Scott Fisher gave his take on the Northside Vikings game one at Pulaski, and they'll have a lot more games that we will cover as well. Hopefully you'll hear more from Scott Fisher throughout the season on the Sports Buffet podcast. I am Bob Alvis.